Arcade Scramble was originally released in 1981, becoming Stern's second biggest selling game after Berserk. It was the first side-scrolling shooter with forced scrolling and multiple distinct levels. In its February 1982 issue, Computer and Video Games magazine said it was the first arcade game to send you on a mission. Scramble is a single-player side-scrolling shooter in which you control an omnidirectional moving ship that can fire both weapons and bombs. In this version of Scramble, pressing the button on the Atari CX40 joystick will fire your weapons and bombs simultaneously, although for the diehards there is still the option of plugging in a Sega Genesis gamepad in order to experience two-button gameplay, just like in the arcade version. In 2015, Champ Games' original founder and president, John W. Champeau, announced his next project was a port of Scramble to the Atari 2600 console. Being a fan of classic gaming for some time, I definitely remember Champ Games from back in the late 90s. They remade popular arcade classics such as Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaxian Centipede, Asteroids, Space Invaders, Galaga, and Donkey Kong, which I will show some gameplay of at the end of this video. One thing to keep in mind was not only did they remake these games, but they also made them better, enhancing the sound with rich stereo quality and adding new levels of gameplay. This is why having them port Scramble to the Atari 2600 console is a win-win. When you first power on Scramble, the title screen starts, where we are teased the question, how far can you invade our Scramble system? Waiting for a few seconds, you will see all of the point values for your targets, followed by the high score tables being displayed. An attract screen will then start up with the word demo flashing at the top of the screen, showing sample gameplay from a random stage for a few seconds before repeating back to the title screen. In Scramble, the environment scrolls from right to left. Enemy rockets are positioned in strategic locations along the surface, which can be launched toward you. Your ship has a fuel supply that must be replenished as you play. As the manual puts it, your ship is equipped with energy transfer technology that will automatically convert and transfer this stored fuel to your ship, allowing your mission to proceed. Your mission is to delve deep into enemy territory and destroy their command center. In keeping with the arcade version, the enemy landscape changes up once in a while, revealing new exciting challenges or stages. A total of 6 are in Scramble. In the first introductory stage, you deal with rockets and fuel. The landscape you're flying over can be imagined as mountainous. In the second stage, you're battling hovering UFOs within caverns. The third stage involves dodging fiery meteors. Most of the time in the arcade, this was as far as I ever made it. The fourth stage is similar to the first stage, only instead of mountains, you are starting to see the beginnings of the alien hideout. The fifth and sixth stages take you deep into the enemy fortress where you can complete your mission. Should you lose a ship before advancing to the next stage, you will start back at the beginning of the current stage, a checkpoint. This concept of checkpoints, which is used in Scramble, is one of the earliest examples of this technique used in gaming. Scoring. You are awarded a spare ship at 10,000 points and every 50,000 points scored. Rockets on the ground are worth 50 points, launched rockets will get you 80 points. The enemy ships in the UFO stage are worth 100 points each, fuel 150 points, and what I'm calling the water towers will get you 800 points each. Completing the game by destroying the enemy base is listed as mystery in the manual, which could mean a few different things. Maybe a random amount of points or a different amount based on the skill level, I'm not sure. Graphics/sound. The side-scrolling in this port of Scramble is herky-jerky compared to the arcade. However, for me, this does not detract too much from the experience. You have to remember, this is a game that was recreated and released in 2017 for the Atari 2600/VCS, a system which was never intended to have perfectly smooth scrolling graphics. The graphics emulate the arcade closely. I love how you can see the exhaust behind your ship. The starfield is present in the background and disappears on the maps with cover. As you progress through a particular stage, the environment's background color changes. This lets you know how deep within a stage you are, evoking a sense of progress. When you lose your ship, there's a nice explosion animation. I love how the sound in this game was done. I know why, it was done by Bob DiCrescenzo, of course. When you first power on the console, you are presented with a quick "Have you played Atari today?" song. When you start the game, the expected Scramble intro music plays. You have the constant rocket motor sound always humming in the background, and when you fire your weapons, there is a shooting sound. If you don't hit an enemy right away, you will hear the sounds of the bomb dropping to the ground. The bomb sound will be interrupted once explosions occur. You have a separate sound for when your bomb explodes into the ground versus hitting a target. You have a great set of sound effects for when you lose your ship, like a bam bam bam. There is a bonus ship sound which is a quick beep beep beep. The left difficulty switch controls what the manual calls burst mode. In position B, each squeeze of the button will fire 5 shots, 3 missiles and 2 bombs. Position A is single shot mode and is the mode I recommend using. Speaking of the difficulty settings, there are a total of 4 such settings in Scramble: Novice, Standard, Advanced, and Expert. According to the game's manual, in Novice mode you will start out with 5 ships, have fewer enemies, and the speed is slightly slower. I would say this mode is for the younger gamers. In Standard mode, you start out with 4 ships, have a few more enemies, and the speed is close to the arcade version. In Advanced mode, you start out with 3 ships, have even more enemies, and a faster speed. I would say this should have been the default, but it may be difficult for some. Expert mode has the following challenges added: rockets launch toward you on all stages, including heat-seeking rockets. Enemy ships fire missiles, referring to the second stage. Meteors move in more challenging patterns. I love to play in Expert mode and find it extremely challenging. The game can be paused at any time by toggling the color/BW switch on the console. I love when homebrew games include this option because some games, especially on the easier modes, can run a long time and you never know when you might need to take a break. Toggling the switch again or pressing the button will exit pause mode. Pressing the joystick up or down cycles through the title page and high score rankings. Left and right will cycle through skill levels on the score ranking screen. Select returns to the title page and cycles through the difficulty settings. Reset or pressing the button on your joystick will start the game. Hidden feature not in manual. Right difficulty switch setting. Having the right difficulty switch in position A will turn off the starfield simulation. This will reduce sprite flickering. Position B turns it back on. This can be done during gameplay. Hidden feature not in manual. Stage select mode. When you're on the title screen, hold the reset key, then hit select, then release both. You will then be brought to a separate screen where you can use the joystick left or right to select your starting stage. Up or down will select the level to start on. This feature will also allow you to simulate a game continue. To do this, after your game ends, simply enter stage select mode from the title screen before restarting a game, and it will be preset with your last stage and level settings. Your score will be reset to 0. Thank you to John Champeau for these tips. John has been wonderful answering all of my questions on the Atari Age forums. He's a real class act and I appreciate him. I love the fact that Scramble supports a save key and AtariVox devices. These devices allow 10 of your high scores to be saved per skill level. You have the ability to reset the high score tables for any current skill level by holding reset and then pressing select to reset the scores all back to 10,000 points for any given skill level. As you play Scramble, on the top of the screen there's a stage indicator, 1 to 5 and base, which fills in with a red color as you progress through the game. On the bottom right portion of the screen is a flag and a number that increments by 1 each time you've made it through the entire game and destroyed the enemy base. If you're using a Sega gamepad rather than a CX40 joystick, button B fires missiles and button C drops the bombs. Having the bombs drop automatically does take away part of the challenge, so I would encourage you to try playing with a 2-button gamepad controller. Packaging. I'd like to take a minute to speak of the quality of the packaging for the box copies, which was done by Dave Dries. The box has a really nice purple cartoon-style graphics all in the Scramble theme. Same with the cartridge and manual. The neat thing about the manual is that it's done in a comic book style, and it tells the backstory while explaining how to play the game. It also includes an 11 by 14 poster, a really nice touch. As this is a fairly new release, I was unable to locate any official world record or even a high score posting on highscore.com's website. Conclusion. This is an amazing game with tons of great options, difficulty settings, and high score save options. The original wonderment I experienced as a teenager in the arcade is still there when I play this version. It plays and feels like you're playing the arcade version. When I first heard this game was coming, I took a sneak peek at some of the early ROMs. I was excited to play the game on the Atari and I couldn't wait for the official release. I love all the attention to detail that was placed into Scramble. A few such examples are the starfield simulation, animated explosions, great sound effects, title and track screens. The word Atari Age displays on the base stage rather than Konami. Atari Age is currently selling the complete box version of Scramble for $50 on their site. You can also download the ROM and play Scramble for free from this link. You couldn't ask for anything more for this console. Highly recommended.